Welcome to the bunker. My name is Daniela. You probably already know me. And here we have the artist of the month, Kwanza Humphrey. He has his studio at Interurban Art House, and he's won several awards, and will probably win a lot more soon. But we have a great show, and Kwanza, I'm gonna let him talk.
Well, thank you all for coming out, and everybody that's going to be viewing this on Facebook Live. I'm just very thankful to be here at the Bunker Center for the Arts. I've actually got all 4 galleries, so that's pretty exciting. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to fill it up, but managed to do that. So I'm excited for you to see it. The gallery is open, so make sure you make appointments. You can make appointments on Facebook all month. You can go to the website, you can give them a call, come down and check it out. I hope you get a chance to see it in person. We'll go through a little bit of it tonight, and I do have a special treat for those that are able to kind of tune in live and check it out. So again, my name is Kwanza Humphrey. I'm an artist, something I've wanted to do pretty much all my life. Ever since I was little, I've been drawing for, I'm 45, so at least 40 years now. Painting for about half of that time, so it's always something that I've loved, and growing up there was, just always that, okay, you're an artist, but how are you gonna make a living doing this? And so I went to school at Missouri Western State University. I've got a degree in design, so I do have a day job, and I love doing that. I'm a user experience designer, and that is just something that I love doing, and then this is kind of my passion as well, so kind of using the other side of my brain. So my day job is kind of designing and making sure to be able to tell, communicate ideas. And this, I'm kind of doing the reverse, is taking ideas and have them, you kind of interact with them and kind of come up with, what you would think they look like. So that's kind of the approach that I take to painting, is try not to completely spell everything out, but have an idea, have a concept, have an emotion, a feeling, and put it down on canvas and let you kind of interact with it. So I've got lots of influences. I was going to talk about a few about the influences that I have. Some contemporary artists that I love are Kent Williams, Jason Alexander, Tim Mukamura. I love his work. I've got a couple of prints of Tim Mukamura, Kadir Nelson. I grew up watching Good Times and Ernie Barnes, and loved that work. Here local, Thomas Hartben is one of my favorite artists. I love the painting Persephone at the Nelson. So there's just, I grew up kind of looking at like comic books and really got into art that way, and just loved kind of the human figure and painting people. So you'll see that's a common theme that runs throughout my work. So again, we're here at the gallery. I've got all 4 galleries, so hopefully, you can make it down here and check it out. So right now, I think we'll do a quick tour. I won't talk about everything because I've got quite a few pieces here. So I'm standing in front of one 48 by 48 Kiata, and I completed this one about a year ago. It actually went down to a juried exhibition in Texarkana. She's a good friend of mine who I went to high school with, right up the street actually at Lincoln Academy. So go Blue Tigers. We'll go over here to this one behind me. So this is one of the latest few months. So one of the things that I always do with all my paintings is I start off with a drawing. So this is originally a drawing, and I've kind of taken the drawing, and I was kind of wanting to, especially during this kind of COVID thing, is play up and try some different things. So here's a technique that I've been kind of playing with. So right now it's kind of a mixed media piece with watercolor and kind of playing around and getting the composition, and then here's the final piece. You'll see it's very, similar, but there's a little, took some artistic liberties and made a few changes to it, but very happy with this piece. There's a couple of people I know that came in and sat for me, and this is some of the things that I started doing lately, is having people come into the studio and take pictures. Really the way I kind of work is I don't really have any set composition that I'm looking for. It's more of interaction with the people that I'm able to paint. And so we're just kind of having a conversation. I need to get better at taking better pictures. But being a painter, I have lots of liberties with how I can fix things that I don't kind of get on camera. So that's kind of this piece and these two related pieces. And you'll see a lot of that in the gallery. I've got the drawings and then the paintings. So I think people like kind of seeing that process. So if you're able to join me live, this is only going to be viewed live, because right now, I've already got this one on hold, but people have seen this one on my Instagram, Facebook, and it's not done yet, but I thought I'd bring it in just for tonight, and if you're able to tune in live and see it, and this will probably be the only place you'll be able to see it, but I'm about 90% done, and I just want to say thank you to John Hastings. He did an incredible write-up before. I mean, he's never even seen the finished piece. Actually, I just worked on this last night, so nobody's seen this. And he did an incredible write-up and captured a lot of the emotions and things that I was representing. I don't want to explain everything to it. Like I said, I like to keep it a little bit ambiguous, but tonight's for everybody on Facebook Live able to kind of check it out. Again, I've probably got another maybe 3 or 4 days left on this one. I will post it, but unfortunately you won't be able to see it here at the gallery. But everything else is available. You can go on the website, go to the store and purchase. Everything is for purchase, except for this one, obviously. Check it out on Facebook and the website, Bunker Center for the Arts. So this is the other gallery. So we were just kind of in one. In this gallery, I was going to highlight this piece in here. I'll tell you about this piece. This one is maybe a year and a half or a couple of years old. And it's one of the ways that I paint is to obviously do a drawing. And then what I've started doing was taking charcoal and mapping it out on the canvas. And this one is the one I just really went to town with the drawing. And so ended up painting over that just because that's the way, but I was like, man, that's a lot of work and tedious to go over and paint over it. But I really love the process, and for me, it's about kind of creating the art. But this is one of the first ones where I've done kind of the patterns and the dresses, and that was something that I really kind of gravitated towards. And a lot of the patterns and things that I use are traditional African prints, and it kind of helps me kind of connect to African culture and tie it with the people, and just kind of I just really like the vibrance and the colors of African fabric. So you'll see a lot of that in the work that I have. This is one of the final pieces that I've completed probably about a month ago. So like I said, here's the drawing that you'll see and the kind of the composition, and what I like to do is typically just kind of do it in black and white, kind of get the form and shape and figure out all the composition, and then translate it into canvas and play around with color there. So I love kind of the look and feel of color, and just kind of being able to just kind of use the color as the emotion to represent the subjects and how the atmosphere and the feeling, and that's kind of where I kind of take color with. It's not always 100% representational, but I like to use it as kind of an impression of kind of a painterly impression. The other thing that I was just talking, I was a part of a color show. There was the show at Metropolitan Community Art, and it was all about color. And it made me think of, why do I kind of paint the way I do? And it goes back to early on when I first started painting. If you're a painter, you'll kind of know, I mean, for me, there are stages of painting that is kind of like the ugly stage. And I was always trying to push past that ugly stage as fast as I could. And that was with bold, sharp colors, because I would kind of continue to model. And if you continue to overwork the color, it can get really muddy and gray. And so I'd bring in lots of like cadmiums and then I would kind of make that pop. And so then just over time, it was just kind of, that was the way I've painted. And now it's more of using kind of what I've learned and how that the color interacts and what interacts with the light, interacts with each other, the viscosity of the paint. And now I'm trying to be a little more sophisticated and more layered and not quite as rushed, because now I kind of know where I'm going with the paint. So, but anyway, that's kind of this one. We will move into this other gallery. Up the stairs. Again, Bunker Center for the Arts. Everything's available online. There's a Bunker Center for the Arts store, so everything, all the prices are up there for purchase. One of the things I'll kind of highlight in this one, like I said, I've been drawing for a long time, and this is a kind of representation of how I typically work on a painting. So it's kind of figuring out the composition, figuring out the different poses. I took, several different images, and this is kind of what the final result was. But just kind of figuring out different poses, different kind of emotions that I wanted to capture. And that's kind of how that one turned out. Again, I change up the patterns, I change up the lighting, just to kind of get to the spot that I think works for the subject, that keeps my interests. I really kind of paint for me. So that's kind of where I lead with translating from the drawing into the painting. Some of the other pieces in here are, this one here is something I started doing with the drawing. People really gravitate towards what I draw, and obviously I've been doing that. I've got kind of more experience doing that, almost 40 years, I guess. But I really like to kind of push around the color, so I started taking the drawing and then applying watercolor to it, and just kind of pushing that around. I did watercolor early on in my art career and kind of got away from it, and really I think mastering oil paint takes some time. So I've been just really putting that time in, the hours into oil painting. But I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of step back and try and push some of the watercolor on the drawings and kind of play with that. So you'll see several pieces that are on paper. A lot of it's watercolor paper and with color. And what I've done is kind of played with a little bit of technique to try and push that a little bit. So you'll see over here, this was taking that a little bit further. One of my most favorite illustrators is C.F. Payne, and he's a famous illustrator. I think he's a professor in Ohio, and he's got this technique that I think he picked up from Mark English and John English here in town, actually. And the technique is start with, and you'll kind of see the progression somewhat. This is one that I plan on kind of working on, but it's a colored pencil Prismacolor and a pretty tight Prismacolor drawing. And then it's kind of working in layers to produce kind of the finished piece. So Prismacolor, an acrylic wash at probably about 40% opacity, 20 to 40%, and then on top of that is a watercolor wash that you go in with a little bit darker, and then once it dries, you kind of lift it off, and then spray fix it to that, and then you go back into it with a oil wash. So I'm going over top of my Prismacolors, my acrylics, and my watercolor with an oil wash. So you'll see kind of this background texture that comes in, and that's from that oil wash. And then you've got to let that dry. And then I go back in with a kneaded eraser and start kind of pulling out the highlights. And then on top of that, I go back into it with Prismacolors and acrylics and really start kind of finishing up the piece. So I find these are really, really fun to work with. It's kind of pushing that drawing, taking that drawing to the next level. I mean, I love drawing, and it's just working on the original drawing and kind of turning it into that painting, which is a lot of fun for me, and it's something that I really enjoy. And it's a technique that I'm still practicing with, but with the oil colors or oil, the paintings, one for the size and for the time, it just takes a long time to produce, and I love working on them for so long. But these, where the paintings are going from weeks to months to work on, these are in hours. I can finish one of these in probably a couple of days, provided I'm not working my day job or whatnot. So this one, I named this one the Three Graces. So one of the things that I've done in the past is just kind of mined the Library of Congress for images and people, and I like kind of just doing research and looking at interesting poses and people and emotions, and then trying to capture just what was happening at the time, and then just kind of create a world or an image or an experience or a scene that I can imagine they were in. So I liked Greek mythology, and this one is kind of a take on the Three Graces. I can't even say the names of it. I've got them written on the website. Again, Bunker Center for the Arts. Go check it out. Every piece is up and available. All the prices and everything are there. So, yeah. We'll go into the final gallery. And this is what I like to call my guilty pleasures. I've got several pieces in here that I've worked on that are just fresh off the canvas. And in fact, there's about 4 pieces that I completed right at about the same time. I typically like to work on several pieces at a time because oil takes a long time to dry completely. So I work on several different things at the same time. So this one actually started with the drawing, actually probably about 3 or 4 years ago now. And then I started the painting, and it just wasn't working for me at the time, and went back and forth with other pieces, and then finally kind of came back to that and figured out, and this one's got a lot of elements to it, a lot of people, the sky, and I'll kind of talk about the sky. I like the images of clouds and being able to look up at the sky, because I think it's something that ties us all together, and especially in the world that we're living in right now, where there's so much disparity and people are all across the spectrum. We're all in this together. We're all on the same planet, and we can all look up at the sky and connect and see that we're all here under the same sky. So that's kind of the theme that I think through when I'm painting the clouds and capturing people. And people have come up to me and said, is that so-and-so? Well, no, it's not, but it reminds them of people that they know, and that's what I'm trying to go for, is that, even though, we're all different, we all come from different backgrounds, we're all in this together, we're all on this planet together, and we need to, we have more in common than we have different. So again, like I said, my guilty pleasures is football. And so TJ, did an amazing job hanging the show, and he clustered all my football pictures up here at the same. And these were some of the ones that I was kind of experimenting with that technique, watercolor and on watercolor paper, pencil, and then I've got my Chiefs Super Bowl run. This is actually the Titans and the Chiefs. I watched the DVD. I was excited to get that. I watched the game live, watched the DVD about several times. Pulled this image from the DVD, and this is the run where Patrick Mahomes went for the touchdown and loved it. And so that was the piece, my kind of homage to the Chiefs as the football season is getting ready to come up. We've got Bobby Bell, Buck Buchanan, and Ernie the Big Cat Lad over there. I actually met Bobby Bell when I worked at Sprint. He came in and huge, super tall guy, and still quick hands. So yeah, this is again Bunker Center for the Arts. This is the gallery. Hope you can make it down. It's lots of work, and hope you can come check it out.
Rachel has a question. She wants to know if you have a favorite piece.
People ask me that a lot, and typically it's the last piece I'm working on.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm always, with each piece, I try to push it a little bit, try something new, try, just a little bit different technique. And so really it's the last piece I'm working on. I don't get to see all of these up because my gallery, my studio space isn't like this. It'd be lovely to be able to have all my work up, but I tend to paint a little bit larger. So it's always a treat for me to be able to come into a gallery and see all of the pieces hanging and see how they kind of communicate with each other. So I hope you can come down to the gallery and check it out. Just call ahead or go on Facebook, Bunker Center for the Arts, and make an appointment to and come on down and see it. It's something you really got to see in person.
Can you tell us about that piece?
Sure.
A little bit.
This is a friend of mine, Kelisha. She is a spoken word poet here in Kansas City. She just had, she's not in Kansas City anymore, that's why I said had. She's in, I believe, North Carolina. Just this great energy about her, and I just thought, that'd be really fun to paint her. And typically I'll change the clothes up and I'll add some different fabrics or whatnot, but she came wearing this amazing piece, and I was like, man, that is going to be super fun to paint. So I wish she did this poem that I have, and look her up. I think she's on YouTube, but she's an amazing spoken word poet. She's went to Paseo High School, not too far from here. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Kwanza.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'll be here all month.
Yay!
Come down and check it out.
Come check it out. Throw on a mask. I'm going to try not to fall down the steps with the tripod. I'm just going to run through real quick. Oh, enjoy our lights for a second. I think I'll wrap it up. Thanks, Kwanza.